Welcome to Empowered, Mind-Body Inspiration. The mind is the map to wholeness, wellness, health. The heart is the key to genius and inspiration. Join me and my guests as we explore how to release and rewire into who you truly are, unique, whole, and empowered. Please like, share, and subscribe. Spiral up, spiral out. Welcome, everyone. Today we have Michel Weinstein. Michel is a solution-based visionary who has been blessed with a vast and varied life. He has over 35 years of business management experience. He was also a soccer coach and a personal trainer and nutrition coach for over 40 years. He now has mentored, motivated, and managed thousands of others to realize their innate potential and to thrive. Welcome, Michel.
Jayne, thanks so much for having me here. I am absolutely honored and blessed to be here.
Michel, for 35 years, you were the poster boy for all things money and material. Through that and loss, you say you got to know your real self. Let's start by having you share this incredible unfoldment.
Yeah, it was amazing. Let's even back up a little farther than that, and I'll talk about, what my beginning was, my childhood experiences, and everything for me was wonderfully simple and easy. The things that I thought that were important, the friendships, the sports, the school, everything was almost effortless, and it came from me not having been dealt. It might sound kind of funny, but I was never dealt the bad card. I didn't have an understanding or an awareness or an acceptance of anything that was associated with that term bad. The judgments were not there either. So I realized at a very young age that I was the one that got to determine not just the goodness and everything, but how good it was going to be. So that's what really took me off on that trajectory. With the professional craziness and all the other successes, quote unquote, that I thought I had accomplished. But yeah, when I'll back up a little bit now to the college portion of that. And when I was almost out of the University of Oregon, I grew up in Eugene, Oregon. And all I knew was just everything was an A and everything was great. And sports was wonderful. I was playing Division I soccer, and the fitness was another huge part of my existence. We'll get into that here in a little bit. But my grandfather, who was, as you can tell by the last name, Jewish, but was a very, very successful, the Jewish patriarch, I guess, of the family. So everybody did what he said. And my junior year in college, I was told, I wasn't asked, I was told that I was going to be the family attorney, to which I said, no. And we didn't talk. My grandfather didn't talk for a couple of years after that. But I had wanted to, and I pursued my lifelong desire to be a stockbroker. And that's where my professional career started, actually. And I looked around Oregon for employment at the time. This would have been 1982, and could not find a job. So I sent out some resumes and was hired by a firm out in Denver. So me being me, I just packed everything up and left. I didn't know anybody in Denver, didn't know what I was going to do or stay, and just, jumped on a plane. And it was a wonderful experience. The exam, the Series 7 securities examination, was a 6-hour exam that I took in about 2 or 2.5 hours. And that's just how simple things were. But took off. Yeah, it took off from there, Jen. I went from being an entry-level broker to assistant manager of the municipal bond department within a year and a half, and went from there to, over the course of the next 8 years, to being a national sales manager for a venture capital firm based in La Jolla, California. So that's how crazy it was. I left Eugene, went to Denver for 5 years, was in Southern Cal for 5. That deal exploded. And long story short, I ended up being a witness for the federal government in a huge RICO, a racketeering class action lawsuit, and was given the choice to either be on the side of the government or be on the side of the firm. So I chose the government and did the federal grand jury deal down in San Diego, believe it or not, 29 years of age. That was the first time I lost everything financially.
Yeah. So
And
until this point, or until now, you
yeah,
had enjoyed great success, really, in
yeah.
what was considered success by in this world. And what made you turn down being a lawyer?
Well, I didn't want to do that, and my passion was being a stockbroker, which I had this fascination with money, and I'm sure this came from growing up in the environment that I did. My grandfather actually had me working in a retail environment when I was about 10 years old, and I loved it. Loved the people, loved making the change at the cash register. Just loved inventorying things, and the business energy was really cool. But the funny part about the attorney thing, this is how crazy I was after this explosion with the stockbroker deal and the federal grand jury deal. One day I was sitting there thinking, I wonder how I would have done on the law school acceptance test, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I go, So I studied for a couple of weeks at night and ended up taking the exam, and I scored in the top 5%.
Wow. So yeah, so that came quite easily too.
It was easy to the point of almost being effortless. I could turn it up as much as I wanted to, or turn it down as much as I wanted to, just to make things, create themselves and be successful. And they kept doing that. And then after the financial deal, I ended up getting involved with a friend of mine who I grew up with, and got into managing automobile dealerships, right?
Mm-hmm.
And within the first year, the guy that hired me to work underneath him, I was his boss. And then I ended up having my own Lexus store within the first 2 years of doing that, which I continued to do for about another 18 years. And then, yeah, that all exploded when everything else did in 07 and 08 with the housing deal. And me being way over leveraged and exposed and not thinking things were going to change. Another massive financial explosion.
Right.
And that's where
But
everything completely changed at that point, Jayne.
yeah, there was a gift in that.
Boy, huge. At the time, I didn't see it. In fact, for 2 years, it was dark and painful because I refused to let go. There was still too much resistance to me understanding, first of all, that things were going to change, because the other two previous times before that, when I blew up financially, I was able to just get back on the horse and keep riding. This time I didn't.
Right. And so that drove you to a place of reconsidering what life was all about, I
Yeah, I
imagine.
really got into a wonderful mission of self-discovery, and I was starting to finally, quote unquote, get it, about, things not being the way they were intended to be. And I'd actually been in touch with some information I'd read, and some people I'd ran into that were presenting some things to me. At the time, I just kind of poo-pooed and pushed off to the side, because I thought that I had those things that meant something, which they really did. They were totally superficial. So I took that right turn instead of the left turn, and went down that different path, and started to actually completely rewire my entire being, which was a trip to first of all examine all of these behaviors, and all these learned conditioned practices that we were taught to believe were the right way to go. And looking inside at what was really important, with me, my complete lack of any self-love or the understanding of what external love was, completely disassociated with source or God or creator. And even my family, I pushed them away because I was tired of always being called up to be the guy that saved everybody. So all of this happened at once. It was an explosion. And when I look back at it, I mean, the pieces were laying everywhere. I just didn't know which ones to pick up. And actually, I stopped picking up stuff, and started looking, like I said, inside, and discovering, how beautiful the human experience is and can be and should be, and what's really going on with us and on this planet.
Right. I like how you said, an obsession with money. And so you must have realized that these were programs that were built into the way we think we need to perform and achieve. And
Yeah, not at the time, because everything, when things are really rolling, Jayne, you don't see the end of the ride. You don't experience or think it's a possibility that's going to stop. And with me, it stopped in an instant almost. And looking back at it, and understanding what it truly was, in spite of what it allowed me, and I've been blessed with some incredible life experience and memories. But no, you're right. It's an awakening, if you want to use that word, but it's a huge awakening to understanding and accepting what it is we truly need.
Mhm. So what happened next? Like, how did it start? And what can you share piece by piece?
Yeah, I laugh because it took a long time, and because I was pushing back against it so hard, I was miserable. I was to use that dark word, but I hate the dark label, but it was in a dark place, and I just couldn't get things going again. I started doing a lot of reading, a lot of self-help stuff, and at the same time too, almost a coincidence of sorts. I just started doing a lot of my posting on Facebook, which I've done since 2007. I posted motivational stuff, and I posted a lot of spiritual stuff, and that led me up to where I'm at now. But in between, yeah, a lot of questions, and a lot of searching for answers, and a lot of it was external, which I guess is kind of the normal progression with this deal. But and then understanding too, the power of the human being and the true power of our soul, and the power of unconditional love and compassion and peace and understanding. These things all started to unfold, and and in I guess in alignment with that was also this quest. I almost had an insatiable appetite for knowledge, which I always had, but about what's really going on the planet, what some of the truths are that we've never really been allowed to understand or accept. So this was all going on at the same time, and it's still going on. But now, instead of me having to look for a lot of these answers or information, it just comes to me now, which is a trip.
Yeah. Well, a lot of what we experience is a distraction away from what you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree with you, Jared. And the other thing too is there's that distraction. And look at what's going on now with you talk about distraction. We've got the biggest global distraction, in the history of this planet right now, which is meant to, maintain the fear and separation, right? With which this planet has been based upon, the control has been based upon. And to me, the beautiful thing about it is, like with anything, is what we choose to identify as an opportunity instead of a problem or a setback. With this pandemic shenanigans, um, it's created a huge opportunity. It really has, for people to, you know, finally get back to a place where there's fewer distractions, right? We are now forced to spend time with our family if that's the environment we live in. And we're also now allowed to have an amazing amount of time to work on ourselves, right?
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. It definitely provides an opportunity to go within and
Yeah.
question from a
Yeah.
different place, from
Mhm.
an inner knowing, if you reach that place.
Yeah. And the other thing too is and whether people know or not, but the energies on this planet have never been as high as they are now, ever in the history of this planet, which is what, 4 billion years. So this has also created and allowed us to have at our disposal, so to speak, an opportunity to do some things internally, that we've never had the opportunity to do before, because the energies were always so low and so dark and dense, and now they're so much higher that the effort that is needed, I guess, to grow and expand and evolve. It's almost effortless right now if we choose to let that happen. And like you and I were talking about before, just doing a couple of real simple things, and most of this is really simple now. This is what I spend a lot of time talking to people about is the simplicity. And I like to say savor the simplicity, because if we just create the space, and by that I mean get rid of those thoughts and those feelings and those intentions and those words and actions that no longer serve our higher purpose. Get that out of here. Create some space for this new wonderful, loving energy to come into our field and just experience it. Experience the feelings, and once again these new intentions and these new thoughts and words and actions that are associated with that. It's almost beyond words, Jayne. It really is. It's beautiful.
It is. And when you were talking about how the planet has a higher vibration now, higher than it ever has, are
Right.
you talking about the Schumann resonance?
Yeah, that's how we measure it. We want to measure everything, right? We want to. Well, we do, and it's funny because everything to me is funny now. I laugh at everything all day, but we have to be able to measure it. We have to be able to validate it scientifically, for it to be real, right? I mean, that's just the way our environment is. But you're right. It's the Schumann resonance. That's how we measure it, and it's everything's energy. So we can measure an energetic way. We can measure the speed of it, the intensity of it, and the volume of it. But and everybody knows that can look at the numbers, quote unquote, right? That it's never ever been this high, and it's going to continue to accelerate and increase as we go along. So let's keep moving and grooving, right?
It's an incredible time to be alive, and time is speeding up as well. Just
See, that's another one of the results of the energetic wave, the frequency being faster and higher. And we want to measure, once again, we go back to that measurement deal, and everything's an association of time and space, right? Which, believe it or not, only exists on this crazy planet. And this is what we chose to become involved with when we came here. And that's another story too, is about this being, and I laugh once again, but this is an invitation only deal. It's the biggest event in the history of creation, for heaven's sakes, that what's going on right now on this planet. And people are starting to wake up to it, and they're waking up to the power, that they have and that we have, both individually and collectively too, Jayne. That's a whole nother deal that's amazing.
yeah. Let's talk about how it's by invitation only. I love that because it makes us respect and appreciate.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, dear, is you think about it, right? And I ask these rhetorical questions a lot to people. This is an infinite universe, right? Of course it is. And this universe has an infinite number of souls, which it does. Okay, obviously. Whether we choose to stand back and look at things from that perspective, which, if we can, will help a ton. But so understanding those two givens, okay, infinite universe, infinite number of souls. There's only 8 billion of us, not even 8 billion of us here, for heaven's sakes, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's like a grain of sand in the Mojave Desert. So ask yourself the question, what are you doing here? Right?
Yeah.
But to think about the significance of what's going on, not only are we changing this entire planet, but this entire planet changing is a domino that changes the entire universe. So for you to be here doing what you're doing, whether you're aware of it or not, and you will become aware as time goes on, only the best of the very, very, very best souls are here to get this. And the odds weren't very good. There wasn't much thought or acknowledgement of this being a success because of what was being asked, of those of us that chose to come here to do. We came here to save the planet.
Yeah. And so, yeah, what is the purpose in that? Can you explain it?
Well, it's the last refuge of really, really dark, dense energy was on planet Earth. And what had to happen, and the planet was almost being killed off, unfortunately, because of that, and because of the way the planet was being treated, and her resources being harvested, and the lack of love that was here. Because of that, and this planet, believe it or not, in the universe is a jewel. Just look out, go outside anytime, anywhere, and you'll get an understanding of that. We had to do what was looked at as being almost impossible, to raise such a low, dark, dense energy up without external assistance. We had to do this ourselves. So this required a incredible, resilient human being, which we are. And that's why the ones that are here now are the powerful ones that they had to be to make this thing work. So, and the other thing too, which is really interesting, when you think about this, the human body basically being a container for our soul, right? Mm-hmm. For it to go from such a low vibration, which was a carbon-based container, now to a much higher vibrating container, which now becomes crystalline based. For that to happen, and the reason why it had to happen, because if we were to stay in the same body with the vibration increasing the way it has, we would have exploded. So something else that's happened on this planet that's never happened before, once again in the history of the universe, was to have a planet raise its vibration so much so that it would change not only all of the creation, but the entire energetic signature. Okay. We were the first ones to do that. So there's another feather in our wonderful little cap, right?
Yeah.
Crazy time. And like I say, it's epic times, and it required epic souls and epic energies to accomplish this. And all we have to do, not only just look inside, but how our feelings have changed, and how our understanding has changed, and how our ideals have completely changed, right? And how our heart feels, and how love feels now. And those around us too, that now we attract, with that echo that this wonderful energy is, I call it a boomerang, but whatever we're sending out is coming back to us, and nothing's by chance, and nothing's by luck, and nothing happens out of the blue, right? So seeing and feeling and experiencing, once again, which is really important, experience these feelings. It's testimony enough to what we've been through and where we're going, right?
Yeah. I think,
amazing.
Yeah. And I think some of that dark energy wasn't part of, the light and understanding. But what you're talking about, this boomerang effect, it's like it was unaware that its actions would come back on it. And
here's it. That's, I don't want to jump in front of you, but that's really interesting, because if we knew, this was also kind of funny, but if we had any idea, how this works, quote unquote, how everything being energy, and how it's a reflection, everything that's in our reality is a reflection of what's inside of us, right? And then those things that are coming out of our mouth, all of those are projections also. So the feedback, to what's going on with us is all around us if we choose to understand that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then to understand too, the power of the collective consciousness on this planet, and in general. So, you can take, one unbelievably, unconditionally loving soul and match it up with another one, or another one, and the power becomes exponential. It magnifies, and we're seeing this. We've seen this in these global meditations that are taking place. We see this when we get into these groups, and that's something else I've been doing with people, is doing these things I call soul reunions. I call it pressing the flesh, is getting back together, right? Mm-hmm. And just talking and experiencing and loving and understanding and communicating without that need to respond. and taking these ideas and building upon them and watching what happens. It's almost miraculous.
I love what you say with no need to respond, because once you when you think you need to respond, you're not truly listening to your heart. It's more through the mind.
Completely, if you're even listening at all.
Right.
All we do, we take that breath and we want to, throw these words back out because that's the ego, as you know. That's our ego. It's trying to protect us. It's trying to, to show, that we are something more than what we truly are. And another really powerful word is unconditional. When people can grasp the true nature of what unconditional love is, and that's our natural state of being, it's a game changer. It's actually a life changer. It changes everything.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. In my worst, deepest, darkest places, the way I've got back out is by just asking the universe, how can I make a difference?
Yeah.
And and then just listening, and
Yeah.
following the breadcrumbs. But yeah, let's talk about that. Getting in touch with that unconditional love. That
Here's
part of that.
yeah, it's a lot of it, so much of it from what I've come to experience and learn now and accept as part of my being. And once it gets going, you just get out of the way and it just explodes. I laugh now too with when I'm talking to people, and my heart space just keeps blowing up, and I laugh and I have to turn sideways now to walk out of the door because it just keeps going, but to truly love anything, first of all, ourselves. That's where it has to start. Okay, everything is an inside job, right? It has to start from within. So when we can drop the expectations, right? Kick the judgments to the curb, get rid of them, right? Stop categorizing, stop numbering, stop quantifying, stop qualifying, stop doing all of that stuff that we're taught we need to do, and just allow ourselves to become the best versions that we can be, and to see the beauty in everything, in everyone. We don't have to invite them all to dinner at the house. We don't, right? But we can be there. We can let them know that we're there. We can let them know that we're all in this together. We can let them remember, the power that they have and the beauty that we have when we can return to that heart space and that love that is such a natural element of our being. And it just makes everything so unbelievably simple.
Yeah. And when you say you feel your heart space explode, what does that feel like?
It's the first couple of times you think something's wrong,
Yeah.
and it's along the lines too. We start talking about the physical feedback that we're receiving on this amazing adventure, right? But you actually feel your heart expanding. You can feel it getting bigger, and it's gotten so big sometimes that it feels like it wants to bust out of my chest. And you get this incredible, peaceful, beautiful, balanced, grounded, warm, nurturing feeling that the first couple of times is you don't really understand what's going on. I didn't understand what was going on. And then you start seeing things differently. You start feeling things differently. You start accepting everyone for who they are, right? Instead of what we were used to be taught, they have to be, a certain thing or a certain person or have certain qualities, right? For us to be able to accept them. And once we release that, first of all, with ourselves, and this, we can talk about the crazy expectations we've had on ourselves and the judgments, and all of these crazy institutions and systems on this planet that were set up, to promote and to continue the flood of this crazy fear and separation that and I talk about the slavery aspect. This planet's been a slave planet since day one, and it's controlled by off-world beings that have been here for since the start of this whole deal. That now they've been released, they've been out, they've been moved out of here. But back to that love thing and that feeling. It's hard to put into words of what a lot of these things feel like, but the heart, the love thing, and the emotions now, being a male in this wonderful society, you're not supposed to show your emotions and all that other baloney, but to let them flow and to just to process and honor the feelings that we have as a human being, and to just let them flow through us without grabbing onto them or trying to analyze them or try to measure them or try to find the cause of them. It just gives you a whole different perspective on everything.
Yeah. That the first time you realize that, wait a minute, everything that I was thinking I had to achieve is based on this slave mentality, that I'm actually feeding a system that has nothing to do with me. It's quite an eye opener to say the least.
Well, it is. It opens everything, and that's the other thing too about when we start talking about energies, right?
Yeah.
And how they align with themselves and feed off of themselves. And actually, this might be kind of weird to some people, but understanding too that the controllers of this planet for so long actually were feeding off of that fear energy, and that's why they were here, and they came here first of all to harvest the gold on this planet for starters, but they also came here too to harvest some of the DNA and most of the DNA at times too from us, and also they had such an easy way of controlling us and the planet. So everything they needed was right here, and it expanded, unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess, depending on how you look at it. But back to what you're talking about. And when we finally start to understand too, not just the love factor, but the power that we have, and what we can create, especially now. People talk about manifestations, and the ability to create. There's nothing we can't create. There's nothing we cannot do. Once we can remember that, and accept that, that's us. That's what we are. And that's what we had to be here, right?
And the connection of imagination to your heart, and like you say, it can explode.
Well, it does too, and then what comes back as a result, how everything else starts to expand, and your understanding and your perspective, then your memories start coming back, and we start talking about the thousands of lives that we've all had, which is part of what I call our universal resume, that we had to have that life experience, right? We had to have been through this before on other planets throughout the universe in order to be here to make a difference and to truly know what we were doing to accomplish what most thought would never be accomplished.
Yeah, exactly. It's all built on itself, and
yeah,
and somehow there's even been a program to stop us from believing that we are infinite and that we do continue on and grow and expand.
Yeah. And it's funny too, I guess, but when you look back, we talked about these ascended masters and these gurus and these shamans and all these other wonderful labels that we've used, to identify these very, very, very few, very elite, very powerful, all-knowing people that walk this planet, and we're put here, okay, for a reason. We came here for a reason. Everything or everyone that's here is for a reason. It's all interconnected. It all works together in a divine fashion, indirectly or directly, right? But how rare that was because of how low the vibration was on this planet and how difficult it was to do. Now it's completely different. And one of the things that I try to get people to remember too now is to release the need, for a lot of that old paradigm stuff, I call, the old teachings, the old rituals, the old tools, all of those things that we used to need, just like, how much has changed when we have a planetary happening, an eclipse or a new moon or a full moon or a retrograde this or retrograde that, or, it used to be a big difference because we didn't have the volume of energy and the power of energy that we have on this planet now. So, those planetary things now, believe it or not, are kind of like a garnish on a 7-course meal. It's a really small, insignificant thing, but it does add to the total. And this is the other thing too, is understanding when we as individuals choose to believe that the energies that are now present are making a difference, they will. When we choose to believe anything that we commit our energies to, guess what? It will. That's how simple it is.
Yeah, and as each individual experiences this, it is like a domino effect.
Oh,
Right?
it's amazing. Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, and for people to finally, remember this, and you see it, and you feel it, and you hear it. It's everywhere now. And the number of people that are coming online or that are reawakening to, their sovereignty, for heaven's sake, and the power that they have and their ability to manifest and do all these other wonderful things that control the entire scenario that's taking place. This is why a lot of these happenings have completely backfired. They didn't turn out to be the fear and the control situation that they were set up to be. They turned out to be actually totally the opposite. It's brought people back together. It's allowed people to see clear. It's allowed people to understand the truth of a lot of things, and it's allowed the planet to rejuvenate and regenerate, and all of this stuff works together. And what's coming is going to be unbelievable.
Yeah, Michael, you talk about this energy or vibration and what's on the planet now. How do you experience it? What have you noticed? Just maybe to trigger other people to also feel it.
Well, it's the ease of understanding and the ease of remembering, and also what it's allowed me. I can just speak from my personal experiences, but how it's changed me with what comes through me energetically now. What I remember about where I've been and what I've done now. The ease that I can bring things into my reality now. How much easier it is for me to just assist other people and provide some guidance and some ideas and watch them. I've seen people, Jayne, change so much. When I talk about change, I talk about personal growth and evolution and expansion. So much in the last 6 months or a year. I'm seeing people do things that I know took me 10 years to do or 15 years to do. I'm seeing them do it in 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 months, because of the environment that we're in now and what this has allowed us to be able to do. And look around and watch what you're seeing. These old institutions are crumbling right in front of our eyes. The truth is laying everywhere. And I laugh, but once again, everybody's ass is hanging out. I mean, the masks are off, right? Everything that's coming out is is a direct reflection of what the truth is about that particular individual. And I don't know if people can pick up on that. It's wonderfully powerful.
Yeah. Like this corruption existed for hundreds of years, but now you can, it's
Jayne, thousands.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Thousands.
Yeah. Yeah. Thousands.
Yeah. And you have to laugh. I guess you do, or I'll cry. I mean, take your pick, or I guess you can kind of be neutral, but there's so much going on. I don't think people can be neutral. And the other thing that we're seeing now too is there's so much confusion, around the world. Because a lot of people, in fact, if they're coming online, if they're waking up, we're being forced now to deal with the things that we've been able to dance around and hide from and run from, about ourselves. We're being forced to face them, and this is a result too of the energetic expression on the planet now, with it being so high. And the other thing that's beautiful, about the level of energy is, and this is powerful and it needs to be remembered by people, but it forces out the lower vibrational energy. That stuff can't exist. So all we really need to do is to keep raising the vibration of ourselves and thus the planet. And it's simple to do. It really is.
Yeah. So what are some of the things that people could do? I wanted to talk to you about exercise because you're such an expert in that
The
field.
fitness thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fitness and exercise. And I was thinking this morning, I was working out and I was thinking, I've gone through forcing exercise, forcing my body to be a certain way.
Right.
And at one point, that kind of switched into I'm doing this, and as I do it, I'll send myself love energy. And my reason for doing it became different, even to connect with myself.
Yeah, isn't that beautiful when we can look at things that way? And there's always, two different polarizing perspectives that we can accept, right? Or you could dance in the middle all you want, but let's just look at it basically, right? So if we understand, that there's basically four pillars to our being, okay, the emotional, the physical, the mental, and the spiritual, right? And the balance of all of those are what we ideally, want to be able to create, okay? And that's where our thriving and our joy, are generated from it. And the physical aspect of that is a big deal, and I was blessed at a young age to get involved. That actually I had to, because I was so involved in sports, and I was lagging behind in the physical development area. I was quite small, and I had to stop playing basketball, baseball, and football in junior high and high school because of that. So I got into the gym. My father got me involved in it, and I just took it and ran with it like I did everything else, and got deep into the information. I got deep into the physiology, of it, and I also got deep into what I finally understood and accepted was that it needs to be a lifestyle. We just can't go to the gym, for 30 minutes every other day and expect it to truly have, the potential benefits that it can have. And the other part, like you touched on, is understanding that it's a gift that we give to ourselves. It's a blessing that we bestow on ourselves to be able to do those things that we can do, to become a better version of ourselves. And then look at the benefits, the obvious physical benefits from exercise, right? The sleep benefits, the autoimmune benefits, the hormonal benefits. If you want to get into the body image things, I think it's awesome. You feel great. And I used to laugh with people too when I would say this, and I got involved in training and did this for many, many years. But I've been involved in the fitness aspect for probably 45 years, quite a while, and have a wonderful, wonderful understanding and a huge amount of wisdom. But to get into, knowing that whatever we put in, we can take out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we're not taking out enough, well, put a little more in, and then also to look at this too, back up from it and look at this from a broader perspective, with the diet, with the rest, with the way that we approach the exercise regimen, for example. And then if we can, and we're blessed to be around people that have had a different understanding, a broader understanding of the whole exercise/fitness regimen, then that's another huge benefit too. But and also, Jayne, we're so blessed now with our access to information, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a fingertip away, or a phone call, or a message to somebody, or just reaching out to those people if we are in that environment, and not being afraid to ask, for some ideas or thoughts or assistance, right? And that's what I've always done. Is I've always been there, to provide that guidance. And then, it expanded. I played soccer at a pretty high level, and I was able to get into coaching and did incredibly well with these boys in a competitive environment for 5 years. but to see, what it is, the power of teamwork, right? The power of that unity, of accepting, that common goal as we get into a group environment was the most gratifying thing I think I've ever done. And I've done a lot of crazy stuff.
Yeah. And you're reminding me how important what you first said about it, there being balance of body, mind, emotion, and spirit, that this physical part of us is just as important as
Yeah,
the
yeah,
other, And
yeah. It is, and let's be honest with ourselves. We take a lot for granted, and that expression, I call it the attitude of gratitude. That expression, of self-love, which is where that generates from, and and that understanding that really, I mean, everything is entirely it does. And when we can, create and maintain that separation between the external world and the internal world, and operate from that, and not give away our power to anything external at all. Do not respond or take on those energies that are coming in, or those things that we used to judge, or the things that used to anger us, or alienate us or discriminate. When we can assume that power, and that knowing of that presence that we have because of what we are, your whole life changes.
yeah. And like you say, it's so simple.
Oh,
I was thinking that this morning too. We've gone through so much of our life thinking we have to achieve this, do that. But like you say, it's just so much simpler. And
yeah.
just,
And when we can accept that, it just keeps coming, like
yeah,
everything else, just like with the love. When we accept that part of us, and the compassion is beautiful, and the understanding, and that peaceful, feeling, it just all keeps coming, because once again, it's that echo, it's that energetic reflection that comes back to us, because that's all energy does. You put it out, it comes back, it aligns. That's all it does. The same speed, the same frequency that you put out is going to come back. So, to those people that are always in fear or in pain, or those people that are always happy or loving their life, it's a direct reflection of who and what you truly are.
mhm. Just recently, even with everything that, I've always been interested in what you're talking of, but just recently I've been able to say to myself that I am a powerful light being, and anything, that I wish I can bring into
Right. Right.
reality. But for the longest time, there was this self-doubt and who am I? And,
Well, yeah,
you know,
yeah. But see, we were taught to accept that as our reality, right?
yeah.
Could you imagine? I mean, well, I guess we can't all imagine, because we got pretty good imaginations. But especially looking at what's going on now, and knowing what's going on now, and looking back at what we've been through. We've all, the more people you talk to that are on an enlightened path, which we all are. We just, some of us are remembering more now than others, and we've chosen to do some things differently than what others have, because that's why we're here. But to understand, how crazy it used to be, and the silly things we used to do, and what we accepted as, quote unquote, what was right, to be, and what we were supposed to chase, and that no pain, no gain scenario, and hard work or no results kind of a deal, and
Yeah.
crazy, just crazy, a waste of energy. It was all necessary to do what we've done, and to be where we're at, and that's something else I think that helps people now to understand. If we can just accept what we have chosen, and we've chosen every bit of our life, but to accept what we chose to do and go through without the judgments, right? And the labels, and unfortunately the name calling, and the way we talk to ourselves sometimes. But if we can just let go of that, and know that we signed up for every bit of it, it's all part of what we came here to do. And what we have done has never been done before. And where we're going is, well, it's heaven on earth, baby. Let's just call it what it is.
I hope so. I love that.
Well,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming.
Yeah. And the quicker you can accept the rough spots as being a gift, and learning from them and growing from them rather
Woo!
than, yeah.
That learning word is powerful. And what helps people, what I'd be able to help people understand, is regardless of the situation, regardless of the people, places, and things in a particular moment, if there's ever any doubt, okay, or some pretty harsh feelings that we've not allowed to process, just step back and ask yourself, what's the lesson here? What's the lesson? What is really going on here? And why did I choose to serve this up? Why am I eating this meal? That I might not like right now. But simplify it and just once again ask yourself, what's the lesson? And another really good question to ask after that is, where's the love? If there's no love, kick it to the curb.
Right.
Yeah, get rid of it. We
Yeah.
pack around so much baggage. Oh, and the labels and the victim this and the victim that and the fear and the pain and all the other crazy stuff. Just let it go.
Yeah. Well, you had a beautiful upbringing. It sounds like very supportive. Things were easy, but then were dealt your cards later. Whereas some have these programs from really deep childhood, really painful.
Yeah, I had the well, I didn't talk about the mom leaving when I was 6, the abandonment thing, which was huge.
Oh, there you go.
That was a monster. That was a monster, and I've had an amazing string of rotten relationships, and I've come to terms with it. I forgave her, and I've done the other dances. I did the cancer deal. I've had some crazy near death experiences that I should have never survived. I've had the other stuff. I've been without food. I've been without a place to live, and I've also had the other extremes. So I've had such an amazing, such a vast and varied amount of life experiences that were all based on excess and extreme, pretty much, which helps me, to be able to deal with others. I've gone through this crazy physical transformation. I've put on almost 100 pounds of muscle in 40 years. I completely did that deal, and some of the other stuff that I've been able to go through. But everything's a blessing now to me, and I'm grateful for every single thing. And man, the emotions are just flying. I get such amazing satisfaction out of human accomplishment, and I get such incredible joy, the crying times where just to see people getting it, it just touches my heart now, and it's so beautiful.
Yeah, it really is incredible.
Oh,
I guess I brought that up just to make people realize, like I've had it too, between the age of 0 and 7, you're completely programmed. You're learning through your 5 senses. Everything that happens becomes, ingrained in our subconscious brain. And so these very difficult experiences can get repeated through life until you see the pattern.
exactly. No, you're right. No, you're right. And now what's really cool, because of where we're at, once again, energetically on this planet, I call them the new models, but the kids that are coming in now are completely upgraded. They are completely new. They're coming in with the knowing. They remember their power, and hopefully, and we're saying more people understand this and accept this, but hopefully, we can understand this and deal with it differently than what we used to. That we all are one. We all are a spark of source. We all are, these incredible, loving, compassionate, understanding souls that are here to work together to once again do something that's never been done before. And it's amazing.
Right. And when you say remember your power, you're saying remember your original spark.
Yeah, it's what we can do. It's it's the telepathy. It's the manifestation. It's the creation. It's all of it. It's the unconditional love that is so powerful and so crucial. It's it's feeling the feelings, and it's knowing what's really going on. That's huge. And and we came here. One of the things, biggest things about when we first dropped in here, was the separation. We chose to come here to experience a complete separation from love and from source, which is impossible because we all are one, obviously, right? So, that, just remembering that a particular aspect of this will bring some clarity to some people that, I know are struggling. They're really struggling now, because they feel alone. They feel separated. They're fearful of everything. They're almost to the point of being paranoid. And there's other people on the other end of the spectrum that are experiencing these huge waves. I call this tsunami of love, these huge waves of love that are coming through now. And the energies are pouring, literally pouring into this planet from everywhere in the universe. We have so much outside off planet help right now, and if you feel it, wonderful. If you don't feel it, great. You still get it. It's coming into everybody. And as you choose to, hit that switch and remember and open up, just open your heart up, for heaven's sakes. What's going on? And the transformation's epic.
Yeah, so it's an instant decision to open up to it.
It really is. In fact, everything is, and ask yourself, what are you waiting for? I guess, right? I mean, because it's something that we push it away. There's so much resistance, and that's where we can start talking about why things are out of alignment. Why are we having all of these physical pains and ailments now? Why do we have all of this fear? Why do we have all of this trauma that we've been packing around? Why are we still packing it around? Well, because we're out of alignment with what's going on the planet energetically, and we're out of alignment with our higher self, and that resistance, once again creates it, and like we said before, it feeds off of itself. So understanding that one aspect, that whatever we choose to feel, we're going to get more of, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you're reminding me of so many things. Just recently, I slipped and fell on a step. And just yesterday, I was pondering, why did that happen? And, there's a lot, physical pain that comes with it. And I realized that I'm not totally, letting go of that wheel and trusting that there can be complete love and abundance, right?
Yeah.
And
Well, I tell you, one of the biggest things for me was surrendering, being
yeah,
a strong type A. I was a control freak. My ego was monstrous. I never would have admitted it, for heaven's sakes, but yeah, once you can do, I mean, truly, just take your hands off the wheel, man. And like I tell a lot of people now, I said, stop driving the car and get in the back seat and just enjoy the ride.
yeah, but it's hard to trust. Like, we've had things that have happened that aren't so nice, and you can be scary at times, but I think what you're saying is the exact clue that we all need.
Yeah. Yeah. And understanding and believing and trusting without condition, 110%. A couple of things. The universe has got your back. Okay. When we work with the energies, it creates magnificent, miraculous things. And when we can accept that, we don't have the answers. Okay. And that the answers will come to us when the right time is, when we're ready, right? When the environment is conducive to that, and when we're ready for that next jump in our personal growth and evolution. So, we want to always, that instantaneous gratification baloney that I lived, religiously. Self gratification was ridiculous. And to know that when everything aligns, when it's time, it's coming, it'll show up. and to get out of the way of having to worry about how it's going to happen or what exactly is going to happen. We stop pinching off those potentials. Everything's a potential. That's all we deal with. So when we can allow that just to create itself, it's amazing.
Beautiful. These are incredible insights, and I feel myself just absorbing what you're saying. I love it.
Isn't it cool? No, this is what's so cool about being able to get with somebody, or some buddies, that are open and understanding of what's going on, and what we remember and what it sparks in us. It's beautiful.
Yeah. So, yeah, right. It's important to surround yourself with people that are going in that direction.
Now more than ever, dear, big time.
Yeah, because it feeds, it
Oh,
helps. Yeah.
well, and it creates such beautiful things. And all of a sudden we start remembering, or these ideas just happen to quote unquote show up, or some people just show up, or these opportunities that just pop in out of the blue for heaven's sakes. We created it.
Yeah. It's such a beautiful feeling when you can throw something out that's been rattling around inside and the other person goes, yes. And, and it expands.
No, it does. It does. It just takes off by itself.
Yeah. So incredible.
Yeah.
Michael, do you have any last words of inspiration for people?
The biggest thing right now, first of all, be gentle with yourself. Be gentle, be loving, and understand and accept that it has to start inside. Okay, when we can make that decision, okay, to know that we take care of ourselves, we have to be the number one priority in this whole deal. Okay, and be selfish for heaven's sakes. Okay, and then open up, create the space, and be open to receive. That's it. That's all we really have to do, Jayne, and let the rest of it just take care of itself. We will receive the information. We will get those feelings. We'll get the direction and the guidance. Okay, we've never had the help and the assistance that we have on this planet. So just be there for yourself. Once you're there for yourself, you'll be there for everybody else. And together we rise, man. That's what it's all about.
Yes, perfect. And in that, you're reminding us of the simplicity.
Yeah, just savor the simplicity.
Yeah.
Savor it.
So
stop working at it. Well, really, stop working at it. If it's work, it's not play. And this is supposed to be play, And if it's work, it really isn't love. And this is all about love.
Yeah.
I mean, love wins, man. It's right here, right now.
And it just becomes such an adventure, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it takes on a different perspective, a different feeling, a different look, different sensory experience. Everything's completely different. And when you start to see and feel, okay, your true being, our natural state. Once again, I just don't think words can adequately describe it. And then what comes as a result of that? What else keeps coming, and how it just blows up in every direction. And the dream state's incredible. What's going on throughout your day is incredible. We have the energy, we have the health, we have that beautiful balance that brings everything else along with it. It's what we hear. That's why we came to do what we're doing.
So inspirational. Thank you, Michael. How do people reach out to find you?
Well, the easiest way to reach me is on Facebook, Jayne. My Michael Weinstein, the name, is there. I have page, my nonprofit page is Our Connections, also on Facebook. And then I have a wonderful, loving group. It's called Resolve to Evolve, RESOLVE, the number 2, EVOLVE, and then 2020. I formed it last year. There's 3 ways to connect. Reach out to me on Messenger. Most of what I do now, it's all pro bono. I do it because I love it. I just help people to help people. If you want to reach out and contact me, we'll share some ideas. We'll share some thoughts, some feelings, some emotions, some life experiences. and we'll do what we can to work together to make ourselves better people.
Right? Perfect. And I'll
Okay.
put those links in the description as well so people can find.
Wonderful, wonderful. Once again, Jayne, what a blessing. You are a beautiful, loving old soul, and keep doing what you're doing, dear. You're making a wonderful difference on this planet.
Oh, thank you. I love it. And for everyone out there, don't forget, don't give away your power to anyone else. Just spiral up, spiral out.